So those are the 4 tendencies. Now, knowing your tendencies, if you are still unsure, you can go to bit.ly/habits quiz. The H and the Q are both capitalized. It is the quiz that Gretchen Rubin created to help people identify their tendency. It will only give you your primary tendency. But the reason we're talking about this is because knowing your tendency allows you to know how to set up your goals and expectations for yourself. So if you are going, starting the new year and you want to think about what you want to focus on, it's a good opportunity to do that. Do you have to do it on January 1st? No, you don't. No, you don't. App holders like that. They also could do it anytime. Obligers really like it because there's like this should about it. Oh, you should have New Year's resolutions. So they tend to do that most. Rebels, they don't set resolutions. And questioners question it. Does it behoove me? Is it beneficial to me? Is there any reason that I have to wait till the 1st? Well, it happens to be the 1st, so we're here. Is there any reason that I can't do it next week when I'm feeling better? No, go for it. But whenever you do it, if you do it, why do we set goals? Where we focus, our energy will start to come together. So if we focus on our kids' behavior troubles, we're going to see a lot of that. If we tell ourselves, oh, well, my kids are they're so difficult, we're going to see every little speck of difficult. But if we focus instead on, my kids are learning, now we start to pay attention and notice everything that they're learning. We notice the little gains in between the big meltdowns. We notice how they are moving more fluidly, how they're able to jump higher, how they're able to have conversations with more complexity, how they're able to share their feelings now when they used to not be able to do that. And we see the growth, right? Because we focused on the learning instead of the problem. The interesting thing about the work that we do here is that a lot of it appears to be focusing on behavior problems. But what we're really focusing on isn't the behavior at all. The behavior is a result. The behavior is like a symptom, right? You can put ointment on a rash, but if you keep getting that rash, you're going to want to figure out why, right? You can make it go away temporarily, but it's going to keep coming back if the root cause isn't figured out. And it's the same kind of thing, right? If you have the iceberg, the very, very tip of it is what we see and call behavior. Here, that'll be easier if I do all my fingers. I'm not good at this. But all the stuff underneath is their emotional state, their unmet needs, their lack of sleep, their mouth breathing, their food dye consumption, their sensitivities, their relationship with you, what you're modeling for them, the environment that they're in, how school is treating them, how homeschool is going, how the world's environment is. Are they going out of their house and the first thing they see is a whole bunch of adults in masks staring down at them with like half faces? That's freaked out a lot of kids, mine included. He would not go out into the world in the height of this pandemic. Like, it caused him intense anxiety. So there's all of these factors. Have they moved recently? Has there been a divorce? Has there been a new baby? Is that new baby now in a new stage of development, which is causing a whole new shift in, my kid is so loud right now. I don't know if you can hear him, in their accepting of this new person and learning about this new person, right? So there's so many factors, and every single one of those matters more than whatever the behavior was, because the behavior is just the symptom. It might be helpful to know, right? If your kid is doing something where it's bothering. I'm trying to think of a lot of different examples that have meant different things. But one of the kids that I was talking to their parent last night. One of the things that they do is they kind of run into things really hard, and they will like jump and like slam their body on the ground really hard. And so we are talking about the possibility that that's a sensory seeking behavior, right? It's not about stopping the behavior. You follow him around 24/7 and catch his body every time he tries to jump and slam into the ground, and you could stop him from doing that. But is that going to actually fix whatever's causing it? No. And it's going to be exhausting for you. So if it's bothering you, because most of the time he tries to do it on your body, then in that moment, yeah, you'd catch him and be like, I'm not letting you jump on me like that. He's 5. But also, how else is he meeting that need? If he has a need to jump, which strengthens your joints and bones, that impact causes little shock waves that actually make your bones stronger. That's why kids jump. And jump off of things and all of that. Plus they're learning about gravity, and they're learning about physics, and they're learning about cause and effect, and they're learning about how to face their fears and overcome their fears and learn that they are capable and strong and competent. And so they challenge themselves to get a little higher and do a little more and do something a little more daring. And that's why being outside is so incredibly valuable, because it's all of these lessons just conveniently in one package. You can't avoid them. You also can't really explicitly teach them. It has to come from inside. So knowing this about this child, we can look at the behavior as what it is, as a symptom. Well, what do these host of symptoms sometimes mean? They mean this. So then what do we do to help this? Right? Part of it is mom needs to play roughhouse with him. It's hard for mom to do. She's exhausted. She doesn't want to roughhouse with him. So what kind of roughhousing can they do that is safe for him? We talked about there's these sensory swings that screw into the ceiling, and the kid can get inside and it like squishes their whole body. So mom could put him in one of those and swing his body. So he's getting the vestibular input and he's getting squished and he's playing with her. But her input into that is, which is something her energy level at this moment can do, right? So there's a lot of problem solving, but it's not exactly the problem solving people think it is. It's not, oh, your kid did that, we'll do this to them. They won't do that again. It's never worked. It's never worked. The most extremely violent of parents have temporarily gotten their kids to shut down. And it looks like compliance and they think, I win. But those kids' hearts are damaged. They are the adults who then deal with anxiety and deal with depression and deal with aggression, that turn away from their family to join a gang because they don't feel heard and seen and understood in their family. Now, is the gang a great environment? No, but somebody pays attention to them. Somebody says, yeah, I see your potential. You could be really awesome. You could be really great. I'll pay attention to you. I'll listen to you. I'll talk to you. And they needed that so desperately to belong, that they ignore the bad stuff because they want that belonging so deeply, right? So just because we can suppress a behavior, if we don't look at the root and figure out what is the need for this behavior, what is the pain point that is driving this behavior, if we don't look at that, we're not actually solving the problem. We just think we are. We're burying the problem to come up later. Now, some things are bigger than others, right? Every kid's behavior is not going to turn into joining a gang. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of parents' fears drive them there, right? So another part of it is trust. Trusting in child development, trusting in your relationship with your child. And if you can't do that, that's a really fantastic sign that that's where your focus needs to go, on building the relationship, because that relationship solves a vast array of problems. Are kids still going to be kids? You bet your buttons they are. They're kids. But the ability to grow through their natural course of development and gain compassion and gain empathy and gain understanding and gain self-control and gain self-regulation and all of those skills come from their relationship with you. So one of the things that Dr. S.U.R.E talks about in her book, The Awakened Family, is that her first assumption with any family is whatever behavior that kid is dealing with, it's coming from you somehow. Now, personally, I find that a bit extreme. However, I find Miss Dr. S.U.R.E often extreme, and that's why people adore her, because she shakes up She does not hold back. She's not afraid of her punches, man. She's like, yep, you're the problem. And it just makes me laugh. And the reason why is because I can see all the ways that it can be misinterpreted, right? This kiddo who is struggling with like really intense physical outbursts, he has a sensory processing issue that didn't come from his mom. You know what I mean? So I don't want it to feel like blame, because one, I think blame is utterly pointless. But what I do love about her work is the ability, the opportunity, and the offer to turn inward. And so as I've been reading her, I don't know if this is her second book, but it's the second book of hers that I've read. I read The Conscious Parent a long time ago and then put off reading this book for a while because I already read her book, but it's very good. So I'm glad I read it. When I look at things that I wish were different for my kids, what piece of it, not all of it, but what piece of it did I contribute to? And if it's something I've contributed, what can I change? Right? So it's the question of what part of this do I control? We can be duped by the illusion that we control everything. We can take control of our kids' behaviors, and we can mold them and structure them and make them in our image. Sorry, we're not gods. It doesn't work that way. What we can do is control the environment we set up for them. We can control our own emotional regulation. We can control what we are modeling. We can control who we are allowing to influence them. Kind of. When you have an ex, you don't get total control over that. You can control how you respond to their emotional needs. You can control how you model taking care of yourself, taking a break when you need it. You can control how you model being okay asking for help, getting help in whatever form that looks like. You can model how judgmental you are of others in front of them and in general, right? You can control what you learn to help yourself do and be better. You can control modeling self-acceptance instead of self-hate. Like, there's a lot that you control. So you don't have to hyper focus on the things you don't control. You don't control whether your kid grunts or screeches or slams the door. Like, they have their process for dealing with their feelings, and they are their own person. You control how you react to that, right? And it isn't always going to be great. You're a human. The beauty of parenting is that it was never designed to be a requirement for the parent to be perfect. That's not a thing. It's not even a goal. You have and will always have plenty to focus on in yourself, plenty to learn, plenty to grow. So do I, which is what started this whole conversation. But it's not to get perfect. It's to improve, it's to grow, it's to make a little progress, it's to have little successes and wins, it's to feel secure in your relationship with them and for them to feel secure in their relationship with you. To create secure attachment, you only need 33% attunement. I see you, I understand you, I'm delighted by you, I want you to be in my family, I value your ideas and input, I care about your needs, I notice your needs, I help to meet your needs, or I help you to meet your own needs, right? All of that is attunement. And that only has to be 1/3 of the time to create secure attachment. And really good parents are about 50% of the time. That's an F. It's not even close to requiring perfection. So you can do this with your flaws, with your struggles, with your background, with your mess ups. You can still do this. So with all of that in mind, I sat down with my husband last night and was talking about what goals do I want to focus on? And for me, as a person with a an ability to, the structure I like is to look at for the problem and then solve the problem. I like problem solving. So I think about, what in our day doesn't feel quite there yet. One is fighting over school. I homeschool my kids. They want to be homeschooled. I want to homeschool them, but there's still, right at the start of lessons, there's this fight about it. And it drives me nuts. So rather than try to like penalize them into making their feelings go away, what can I do differently? And so because I was reading Dr. Shefali, I was thinking about how often do I go do something with them that I don't want to do? Never. Now come play Spider-Man. I don't want to play Spider-Man. And I'm okay with not entertaining kids. That's not a thing. But what I'm asking of them is to stop what they love to come do something with me that they don't love. Now, they want it, it is their goal, but they're small children. So it's very hard to override playing or with, these tasks. And I told you, if somebody told me to read this book a year ago, I would not have done it. So how is that any different? Like, it's literally what I'm modeling every day. I'm not going to do that right now. What I can do is read a book, right? I love reading with them. It's a great way for us to bond. I'm not saying that that is a problem. What I'm saying is, for me personally, I am at a point where I have the opportunity to model what it looks like to do something that maybe isn't your first choice and put your all into it for 10 minutes. I'm literally setting a timer, but that's my goal, is when they ask me to come play, to say yes for 10 minutes. That's my goal. Because if I can model that, I was reading or I was working on this, but you know what? I can give you 10 minutes. Then maybe they can model that too. Mom, I was playing this, but I can give you 10 minutes. And they'll probably say that word for word and it will crack me up. But if I can create the environment, which is in my control, that models pausing what you're doing and shifting focus and doing something a little less desirable because there's a benefit to it, then that's what's normal to them. That's what our family culture is about. In addition, I actually talked with my son about it on Thursday, and we started adding brain breaks, which has always been an option, but I guess I wasn't very precise or clear about it, or I didn't call it a brain break, or something about it, how I introduced the idea years ago was not enough. And so he told me that it would be easier if he could take breaks, and like actual breaks where he went and did something. I was like, okay. So we did that. So he came over and he did writing and spelling, which is together, obviously. And then he went and took a brain break and he jumped on the couch. And then he came back and did math. And then he went and took a brain break, and I brought his brother in to do his reading. And then when he was done, he took a brain break, and his other brother came in and did math. And when he was done, he was done. And then his other brother came in and did math. And so they just switched back and forth, but I called attention to the brain break because he felt like he got no break and it was too overwhelming and it was too much. So we focused our attention on the break instead of on the lessons, and listening to his body and what he needed, instead of, I just want to get done with this because that's my perspective. And it shifted things. So definitely want to include that. And then the other thing that irks me is my kids won't play outside. They will not play outside. And going with Dr. Shefali, in what way do I contribute to that? I don't go outside. I don't like outside. I love outside. I love nature, but it's like I'm going on a hike. But just like going out in my backyard, I'm bored in like 12 seconds. So that's what I've modeled for years. Whoops. And I had this idea for all of this time, for all 8 years. You're a kid. You should want to go outside. Go play. Away from me and be gone. That's not who they are. They're perfectly content to be in the house. The problem with that is that there's types of learning and play that can only happen outside. There is the benefit of focusing your gaze further away. There's theories that part of the reason we have so much more nearsightedness, I think that's the right phrase. Those two terms confuse the hell out of me, but where people can focus near, but they lose their ability to focus far. Maybe it actually makes their eyes worse at focusing near because they overuse them. I don't know. Eye problems are caused because we're not getting the variability we used to. We're only right here. We're looking at a screen, or in my preference, looking at a book, but we're still just right here. And nobody is outside for 4 or 5 hours a day, like they used to be, staring out at the horizon and working those muscles to go out, middle, close, out, middle, close. Whoops. And I've known outdoor is important. I do know that. I just don't prioritize it. I like being inside. It's comfortable inside. I get to decide what temperature it is inside. There's no wind. There's no rain. I like the rain. I like the snow. I like looking at it. I don't necessarily want to be in it. And it feels big. It's like, ugh, we have to like get everybody ready. It's going to be messy. And I've just had all these stories. I've created all these stories. So my goal this year is to get outside every day, even if it's briefly. It's to go outside every day. And I will invite them to come and we'll see how that goes. I may have to create something where it's much more enticing to come. But you know, for my 8-year-old, I can just talk to him about the benefits of being outside, but it will help our mental health in theory. We'll see. It'll help our physical health. It will help their ability to focus. It will help my ability to do the thing that isn't my favorite thing. I like to do my favorite things. I don't like to do my not favorite things. Shocking. But that's the culture I want to create, that we can do things even if they weren't our first choice. And it has to start with me. So my goals have to do with me. They kind of have to do with the kids, but mostly they have to do with me. And what can I change in small increments? Because if it feels overwhelming and it feels like I'm failing, then my rebel self is like, not worth it. So literally 10 minutes sounds absurd. But if I can get 10 minutes a day, chances are they're going to want to stay out there because they love being outside once they're out there. It's just that they don't want to go outside without me. So that's my goals. That's how I found my goals. We looked at some of the pain points in our family and we went back to what would help all of them. And it comes down to my own modeling, doing the hard things that I would rather not do, and being the example, which is modeling. So I'm going to say, yes, I can play with you for 10 minutes, and I'm going to go outside for 10 minutes. Those are my 2 goals for the year, and we'll see where they end up at the end of the year.